Yo guys, welcome to the last lap. Don't forget to drop a lovely, juicy 5-star rating if you're watching on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Hope you enjoy, and let's get into it. What would you three say are your the tracks you consider the highest that you don't think get the respect? What would you call the most underrated track on the grid?
I love Baku.
Yeah?
I love Baku. Baku is so good for me.
It, just in terms of like, it's so different to everything else.
It is,
well.
but in terms of getting fans there, it's a very difficult track to get to. So, it's very difficult. The flights just are not easy.
Yeah.
Expensive. It's far out. So you don't get. I think if you were to actually be able to pack out Baku, wow, love it.
Where would you put it?
What if I just move the track?
Yeah, where would you put it?
Norwich, yeah. That's good.
Welcome to the Norwich Grand Prix, the Norfolk Grand Prix. Cold.
Maybe we're putting Kingsley, then Martin Brundle can bang on about it.
Yeah, and
Martin and George, they'd love it.
Yeah. Somewhere near me that I can go.
Okay.
Because it's hard to get to. But Baku, yeah.
Baku, yeah, I do think Baku does. I think it's considered a good track, but I think there's still a few detractors. I mean, again, we had a bit of a stinker this year.
Yeah.
But also it's how much of it, a track can be a good track, but if the regulations are in a bad place, for example, then it can make I think, because for me, I think Catalunya, that's the one for me. I love Catalunya. I think it's a fantastic circuit. And I think, especially with the change they made, and it was a all right race.
It was a good race, to be fair. Yeah, it was decent. It was a decent race.
The problem is that's one race. Like we talked about, Baku. Baku had like maybe one bad race this year, but there's been so many great ones. Like with Catalunya, it's had one good race.
Yeah, but that's because it's only had one race on the new track layout.
That's true.
Yeah, but I would say genuinely, Baku has had more good races than Spain has in like the last 20 years, and we only started going to Baku 5 years ago.
Yeah,
the future of Spain is strong.
The future of Spain.
As long as they don't move it to a Madrid street circuit.
The layout change did help, though. I will say
it's going to help, and I do think with these new regulations where they can follow a bit, I know they're starting to become a bit of an issue with that, maybe, but as the field converges, I do think we're going to see the best version of Catalunya, which there's so many different disciplines. It's fantastic, like touring cars, MotoGP, like there's so much proof of concept. The junior races are always great around Catalunya.
Yeah,
like that's never an issue. So I just think that the track itself, it lets itself down. Again, I've never been, but I've heard the organisation is pretty piss poor. Catalunya, I've heard a mixed bag, but generally negative.
I mean, because Kiera, you went this year, didn't you? So how did you find the experience?
Do you know, comparing, I mean, I've heard a lot about Monza last year. Wasn't very good in terms of the organisation. I didn't find the organisation was too bad. The only thing was the track walk. They just shut the doors and then they didn't tell anyone that you couldn't go through. But other than that, I don't think it was too bad. I think
sweet, even better then.
I was happy. Yeah, I was happy. Got to my grandstand.
I will say, during the watch along, Kiera did say she fell asleep during the race, so it clearly wasn't that much of a banger.
I fell asleep in every session. I don't know why I was so tired.
There you go.
I was so tired. I just kept falling asleep. But
if anything, it's an overrated track.
No, but like we were talking about the track layout. I sat at turn 1, and most of the overtakes were now in turn 1, so you can tell that final change in that final corner is helping. There's a lot going on in turn 1. So like you said, I think if we give it a couple of years with I think
again underrated. I think it's underrated.
Okay.
It is normally called the snooze.
There's a lot of there's a lot of hate for it.
I think
as underrated goes, I'd probably say because it's the least rated.
Come on, you two more.
To be fair, I don't know if this is underrated, but I feel like this track has now absolutely earned its place as one of the best, and I'd say Austin. I think it's a track that's definitely the best one.
That just came out of nowhere. I don't really get it. I don't get that.
Brilliant. I think the racing is so good at Austin.
Did you not like it, Kiera?
I don't. It's not one that I'm in love with. Austin. It's just Austin.
Okay.
I wouldn't say
it's a bit Frankenstein, isn't it? They did just look at
but it works.
Which is not,
put stuff together. I was at Austin last year, and it is actually quite a cool, because that it's got unique things in terms of that fucking uphill turn 1 is absolutely mental. It looks like you're looking at a wall. When you're at the last corner, it literally looks like it goes up 90 degrees. It's insane. I think the racing's pretty good there, but it's one of those tracks that it's like, it feels like it was artificially made to make a lot of overtakes because of how long all the straights are.
But is that like a bad thing? Like we talk about...
It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just like sometimes...
But it just doesn't give me a wow factor in Austin. Like, I don't go, it's Austin next week. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just don't...
I think it just needs more...
You do that every week.
I think it needs more time. I think that will come in time.
Yeah.
Because it's only been on the calendar since 2012 was the first year, I think.
Yeah. So, and I think, by the way, the more like the American races like produce stinkers like Miami, like I think the better Austin is going to look. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, because I'd love to go to Austin. I think the fan base in Texas and for that race is much, from what I've heard anyways, is more, would you say is more akin to the, like, versus like Miami, who's super corporate, super artificial.
Yeah.
Like, it feels Austin's more akin to the European race.
Oh yeah. It was just like American fans that were just like, oh shit, I actually like Formula One. I'm just go and
It feels less maybe corporate or commercial because, like, you know, it's not like Vegas where here's a $6 million like hotel package.
Oh yeah,
where honestly, you can see like no corners.
If you walk around the Vegas or Miami paddocks, I can guarantee like 40% of people will just be like in suits walking around.
Yeah.
Whereas for Austin, it was like bare people just sat on grass banks, just like.
I think that's how they set up the Grand Prix as well. Because obviously, especially with Las Vegas, obviously Miami, what we can judge it from, they've got so many areas what they have purposely put for influencers, businessmen, all these people that aren't even watching the race. The seat's probably the other way, and they don't even because they're not even there for that. So I think that's the thing with Austin. It's very authentic. It just looks like a Grand Prix circuit. You just turning up.
I think it just needs more time to build that legacy.
It'll grow on you, Kira. It'll grow on you. Guaranteed.
Okay. Maybe if Lewis wins.
Mine's not like everyone hates it, but it's actually good. It's more like everyone kind of rates it a bit, but I actually think it's like top quality. In terms of just like those classic tracks is Japan. I feel like people don't like, there's obviously like you've got Italy and Belgium and like Silverstone and stuff. But Japan is like firmly in that category.
The only thing is,
people don't put it in that at all. Like you've got the changeable weather, you've got the first sector, you've got the fucking layout.
I don't think it's underrated here, mate. I love Suzuka. Suzuka, I want to go there so bad, but it's expensive to get there. But that's a track. That's a bucket list track for sure.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is though, because obviously we've had such a growth in Formula One over, the pandemic, and we weren't going to Japan. I think that's decreased kind of how people...
Maybe the interest of it.
I mean, I think we can all remember before COVID, you think, oh my God, like you get excited for Japan, you love that track. And I think because obviously so much has happened since and we haven't really been, it's like you kind of forget about it and people aren't talking about it as much maybe.
I think the fans as well make it.
The fans on their heads
sick,
and stuff.
Is
that not the Johnny Herbert super fan in? Amazing.
And I think that all plays into it, right? It's not, the whole event, right? We're talking about the whole event. I think the issue I love Suzuka. I feel like I love Catalunya, I love Suzuka, I love them as tracks, I love them as motor racing tracks. F1 track and motor racing track is sometimes a different conversation, but I do think, Suzuka isn't, overtake wise, like in modern F1, it's not one that's really, it's a difficult place to overtake, but it's such a challenge for the drivers in the same way. It's totally different to Monaco, but where it is the G-force you're pulling around Suzuka, those high-speed corners, how much they thrive off it as well. I think it's this kind of same in Monaco, and even if you don't get the massive spectacle of overtaking, I do think that it's just such a different venue. You've got the culture of the fans there, and all that plays into it.
And I think the weather is huge as well. Now, sometimes, unfortunately,
as long as they sort out the drainage.
Yeah, because was it 2019? We didn't actually have qualifying on the Saturday because it was rained out.
Oh, yeah.
So we had the qualifying on the Sunday morning and then the race as well. So sometimes that that can work against you. But like last year, I mean, that was a fantastic race. I remember Ocon and Hamilton had a really good battle. Alonso and Vettel that finish at the flag. So I think we can have like some really good races there, even when maybe if overtaking is not like really easy, but it's just such an amazing track, and to watch that sector one, those S's would be just incredible, I think.
Okay, my truly underrated one is China.
Wow.
He's chucked in another one. That's a good one, actually.
Because I don't know why that gets so much hate. I think it's like...
It's a really good track.
In terms of overtake numbers, it's like always... Well, when it was actually on the calendar properly.
I was going to say, is it ever coming back?
It's technically... It gets scheduled every year. But
and then every year they go, bye.
Technically it is, but like I don't know when it will ever go back there.
I feel sorry for Joe, actually, because he's been in Formula 1 2 years and still hasn't experienced it.
It's crazy. It's insane, isn't it?
To me, it took Latifi, I think, 3...
Yeah, that was a while as well. It's the thing, with the pandemic, with so many amazing tracks that we just didn't go to. What felt like so long.
Did we really not go to Canada for 3 years?
because he missed it.
Yeah,
he only did it once.
2021.
Yeah,
I think, yeah.
That's insane.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's wild.
That's the same thing with China because, like, I'll be honest, like we said, I can't remember the race a minute ago. So
But you're right, that
struggling
first
to rack
corner is such a good corner.
Yeah. There's just so many overtakes there. It
So
wasn't
many good, yeah.
I think the last time we raced there was at the time when Verstappen took out Vettel or something. Like that hairpin, and he just like punted him, and Vettel was like, "What the fuck's going on?"
I don't know.
Oh, I think it might have been. Yeah,
that was
right. Yeah,
it was like 2019.
Yeah,
so
that
long
hairpin.
ago.
That
straight is like.
I actually forget who won it in because that was 2018. I think when Verstappen drove into who won it in 2019. I forget now.
There's one that I remember where Daniel Ricciardo was just on a mad one, overtaking everyone, and I don't know what year that was.
That was 2018.
But I was watching on Channel 4, so it was probably a while ago.
Oh my god! Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah.
That was a minute.
Lively when they had it. Well, let us know if you're watching on YouTube or if you can comment on your preferred podcast platform what you think gave the most compelling argument.